Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Armchair Crew Chief for the 2024 season. My name's Jordan, and I have along with me my lovely wife, Rebecca.
Hello.
And so we are just jumping right in and recapping everything that's going to be going on this season, and figured we'd go ahead and give a Cliff Notes sort of version with what to expect this season going forward. And we'll go ahead and start off with our notable driver changes that are happening. We have Kevin Harvick he has retired. He's going up to the Fox booth. Judging by some of the race hubs, that looks like it's going to be pretty interesting to see him and Boyer kind of go back and forth, and Mike Joy to be the moderator of that to see how that happens. Eric Almirola has quote-unquote retired. He's going to be running part-time in Xfinity for Joe Gibbs. Then we have Josh Berry going into the 4. Justin Haley is going to be going from Rick Ware to Colleague. From Colleague to Rick Ware. And then we have Hemrick taking over the 31 car. John Hunter is taking over Noah Gragson's full-time now at Legacy. AJ Allmendinger is going to be leaving to go back to Xfinity full-time. Carson Hocevar is going to be running the 77. The big change here is Noah Gragson is back in the Cup Series. He's going to be driving the 10 car.
Woohoo!
And then we have Kaz Grala is going to be driving the 15 in select races. I think he's starting off in the Clash too, running the Cup Series. So that'll be interesting to see. Zane Smith will be driving the other car for Spire. I don't remember the number of it, but that's the charter that Colleague kind of borrowing, or Trackhouse is borrowing to run that race. So then we have news that Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be driving 7 Cup Series races for Colleague in the 16, and those are going to be Circuit of the Americas, Talladega, both Talladegas, Charlotte, Chicago, Watkins Glen, and Las Vegas, the fall race. So that's something to look forward there too. See how he handles that. I think he's pretty much expecting it to be a wreck fest, is what he's told people.
I didn't think he'd be able to do the super speedways.
I didn't think so either at first. They were talking about licenses and stuff, and then Colleague signed him for those races. So
I didn't think he had enough time.
I guess they're going to allow it to work with the supercar races that he did in Australia. I don't know. And then everybody's favorite driver, sarcastically saying, Jimmy Johnson's going to be back in the 84.
Boo.
He's going to be running Daytona, Chicago, the Brickyard, Dover, Kansas, and Las Vegas. So those are our pretty much big changes for the Cup Series. Moving on, we have in Xfinity we have Hailie Deegan. She's moving up. She's going to be running the 15 for AM Racing. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be running the full schedule for Xfinity. They've pretty much put him out as the favorite to win the championship.
That's probably why he's allowed to run Talladega then, because he's going to get his time before then.
Yeah, but he's probably. But he's running Talladega 1 and 2, and first Talladega is pretty early. I don't know. But Jesse Love's going to be running the number 2, which, if you remember, that was Austin Powers, a.k.a. Sheldon Creed. And so that's going to be an interesting dynamic there, because Creed's moving over to Joe Gibbs, and see if him and Austin Hill actually get into it now, since RC is not going to be pulling them apart.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Alfredo is going to be running the number 5. Sammy Smith is jumping in the number 8 after Josh Berry moves up into the 4 for Cup Series. Josh Williams, this is a big change, and this is going to probably excite a lot of people. He's running Colleague next year, so he's going to get in some good equipment. See what he can do with that. He made his big news at Talladega last year where they black flagged him and told him just to park it. So he parked it right at the start finish line and
Like a boss.
and walked right back. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I think he'll do really well. As we were saying, Sheldon Creed's going to the 18. We have a 4-team.
I bet Sheldon Creed's going to win a race this year.
Oh, I think he'll win more than one, especially with Joe Gibbs, because Joe Gibbs has a strong Xfinity.
No, I think he's going to at least win one race because he's been so close.
Yeah. So moving on in the 19, we're going to have Ryan Truex back for select races.
He needs full time.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him go back full time. It's been 4 years since he's been full time. He was full time in the with Junior Motorsports for a little bit, and then he bumped down to trucks and ran full time there, and then they bumped him off. So, Joe Graff, I think that's who that is going to be running. Taylor Gray, not Tanner, and William Zawalich, who he ran. That's an interesting one because he ran ARCA, and him and grandson Ty Gibbs, I think they were getting into it a little bit, whenever they were running together. I don't remember fully. John Hunter and Eric Almirola are going to be sharing a ride with the 20. And Almirola said that Coach tried to get him to run full-time Xfinity this year. Actually introduced him as our driver at some of the Commander games and all that whenever they showed up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back to that.
Yeah.
I think Stuart Haas probably wasn't a good fit for him, and losing Smithfield probably hurt him as well.
Probably.
Going on, Corey Heim, Jeffrey Earnhardt, and Sage Karam are going to be sharing the 26 car. That is Jordan Anderson Racing, so that's kind of normal. Jordan Anderson's the guy who runs he ran the Garage 56 at Le Mans, and he runs IMSA Racing too. He's the dude that wears the glasses. You see him walk around a lot. But that's those are the big changes there. In trucks, the big changes, GMS Racing is out. They shut down operations. So you had the guy running for the championship last year was out of a ride.
Yeah.
So he moved over into the 9 truck.
Which is who? Which is who?
I can't remember who owns the 9 truck. That was Grant Enfinger.
Grant, yeah.
And Jake Garcia is taking over Haley Deegan's Thor Sport ride. Then Tyler Ankram's in the 18. Ty Dillon moved to the 25, which was Matty D's old ride. Okay. Lawless Allen's going to be in the 33. Daniel Dye in the 43. And Thad Moffitt in the 46. So some of the things that we didn't cover there was Legacy in the Cup Series. So that's John Hunter and Jimmy Johnson and Eric Jones. They're now Toyota, which that's going to be a big change.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. I think it's good for Eric Jones. I don't really care about the other two.
New sponsors too.
Yeah, and we'll cover that here shortly too when we go over what to look for. The sponsors are interesting to say the least. But somebody we didn't mention on there is Matt DiBenedetto. He doesn't have a ride.
Nope.
And I didn't see anything pop up recently. He did have a sponsorship to get an Xfinity ride, but then he claims they lied about something in the deal. They wanted to do something that wasn't in the contract or something. So he backed out of it, not them. So going into the new sponsors as a segue, we have Ross Chastain, which is taking over Busch Beer.
That's going to look weird.
It's going to look really weird, especially if they keep doing some of the same paint schemes that they did before, which they were talking about on Twitter or X. To win a new #1 Busch Beer car, what paint schemes do you want to see back?
Peaches.
So that'll be different. Josh Berry's going to have Sunny Delight, or Sunny D as it's called now. Harrison's. I think Harrison's is like a Western wear place. fitting Brad Keselowski has Consumer Cellular. That is his new one of his sponsors this year is Consumer Cellular. So he's appealing to the 50+ crowd there.
Definitely.
Corey LaJoy, his big sponsor is going to be Chili's.
Chili's baby back ribs.
And he did a pretty cool promo on social media about that going forward. If I read correctly, Kyle Busch lost 3 Chi, which apparently was a Richard Childress owned company. 3 Chi is, everybody liked that because it was the CBD THC style, whatever, they did. He is gaining Rebel Bourbon though. Global Industries and Zone Performance. So far, Noah Gragson only has Rush Truck Centers. I see him probably running one of the Haas tooling cars as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like what
Larson kind of had to do when he came back.
well Larson and Hendrick, but he still runs Hendrick pretty strong. That's like his primary sponsor. Mm. So and apparently they're independent. And going off of that, I think it was, who was it? I think the marketing people for Hendrick said this wasn't a deal to keep it, to put that team afloat. They wanted to do that and push it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't buy that. I buy the fact that why Larson was kicked out. That's why he doesn't have a sponsor.
And I don't feel like he is a go out and get sponsors. He's kind of reserved.
No. I think he's
in that area.
Right. I think so too. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Black Rifle with Gragson.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately he lost Wendy's. Wendy's went to Trackhouse.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see another biggie car or something like that with those guys. Joey Logano took one of the other sponsors that Kevin Harvick had. He took over Hunt Brothers Pizza. So he'll be running that.
With Joey. He'll do some cheesy little commercials with him.
Yeah. Hey guys, buy the pizza. It's great. Bubba Wallace picked up Air Force.
I thought he had Air Force before.
He had Air Force under the 43.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have Air Force with 2311.
Gotcha.
So that's a big addition to him. Going back to that, Michael McDowell, Margarita at Sea.
Margarita at Sea
is one of his sponsors now, yeah. And then also I did see recently that they picked up Love's Truck Centers as well, not just Love's Travel Stops. Woohoo. So he'll run...
Loves.
Whoever runs the front row truck, the 38, will run... will also run, and then McDowell will run that as well. I don't know the exact places these are going. Eric Jones picked up Advent Health, which was with Ross Chastain last year.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that's a Florida-based thing, so it was mostly down in Florida. The big one that Rebecca was kind of mentioning too, Legacy, they had picked up Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. So I learned something that Dollar Tree actually owns Family Dollar.
It's so strange.
So, yeah, that's a big pickup. Zane Smith...
I just think it's kind of silly because they tried to make Legacy look like all fancy and everything, and now they have Dollar Tree,
yeah,
and Family Dollar as their main sponsors.
Yeah, the whole Dollar Tree, it's interesting to see with the Dollar Tree thing, what will happen. They do have their other sponsors.
Is that why Dollar Tree is $1.25 now? They got to pay for a race car.
It's not Bidenomics. It's we decided to do a sponsorship.
Yeah.
And then also, they did this thing like you said with Legacy to make themselves look fancy. They switched to Toyota because Chevrolet said that they're always going to be a tier 3 team, which I think that's a slap in the face of, the king.
Yes.
And I mean, whether you like it or not, Jimmy Johnson, because he has a lot of clout. A lot of people know him and everything, and he should bring at least knowledge, whether you like him or not.
Yeah. He has some great knowledge on how to cheat.
So then going with Zane Smith, because he's going to be, and this is also for Shane Van Gisbergen and his Xfinity ride. They have WeatherTech sponsorship, so that'll be most of them. And then Zane Smith also has Focused Health, which I have no idea what Focused Health is.
Maybe.
So those are his sponsors. Those are the big sponsors being seen. Change names, new ones coming. Going forward with that, we do have some new changes coming out too, and this was kind of frustrating. I think the Ford camp had some issues with this, with the rule changes. So we have a new Camry body and we have a new Ford body.
Oh, I didn't know there was a new Ford body.
Yeah, the new Ford. So it's the Dark Horse Mustang. It looks almost the same as the new 2024 Mustang. They look a lot different. Toyota said that they feel that this is going to help them more on the super speedways, even though they run up front. Super speedways are Chevrolet qualifies the best, Ford runs well, but then a Toyota wins it.
Yeah.
So Ford thinks this is a way that they're taking a step back on their super speedway take with this design and focusing more on the mile and a halves.
There's more mile and a half.
Right, there's more mile and a halves.
Smart.
And, that's one thing that's kind of cool about this next gen car is the cars have their own individual identity. They're not the same looking car or just different stickers on them. So
yeah, I like the new Toyota.
It'll look cool. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
Going forward. The big question now is what's Chevrolet going to do, because Chevy
Nothing. Chevy stays the same.
Well,
all the time.
there's the next Chevy vehicle, they're going to have to change to a different model because they don't make the Camaro anymore.
Oh yeah.
So they went from the SS, which that was pretty much just they
Is Chevy making any cars right now?
they have the Malibu, and that's a rental car. I don't even think you can buy the Malibu anymore. So people think that they're moving over to Cadillac. They would move over to Cadillac. Cadillac's got a big racing pedigree with the the supercar style racing, the endurance racing, and so on. They're more in there. And then you have the Corvette, though. That's the only other Chevrolet, but that's not built to look like a Cup Series car.
Who knows? They'll just say it's that, and it won't look anything like it.
No.
What they've done before.
Yeah. Qualifying, new rules coming in. We have, for qualifying, the fastest 10 now, not the top 10 from each group. So if you run great, and this was the case last year, and it was the case before, where your top 5 that moved from Group A were usually slower than the bottom 12 in Group B.
Yeah.
So now they changed that.
It'll be better.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more even on what happens going forward. Let's see it done in practice. I don't know.
Yeah, because you have number 6 in Group B that was faster than number 1 in Group A, and then they don't make it, and they have to start.
Right.
Who knows where?
They're also going to change it that instead of like Group B is the inside row and Group A is the outside row, whatever it was, that it's now going to be by numbers. So if you were the overall 10th and 12th fastest, you're going to start 12th.
So they're actually going to make some sense now.
Yeah, but I still think they shouldn't be doing the Group A and B.
Yeah, I don't think they should be doing Group A and B either.
Do it all. I know there's a lot of people out there that like the individual go out and qualify, but that's very time consuming. And the way that they were able to streamline stuff, I think after what happened in 2020, just have a whole group go out and then let that top 10. Let's not do Group A and Group B. But whatever.
Yeah.
They changed some stuff also with qualifying, that if a car gets flat tire, like all 4 flats, instead of damaging the undercarriage of the car, they're going to allow it to be towed and then have a dolly underneath it so that they don't ruin the car. And I think they can continue qualifying since it's just flat tires. If they don't hit anything or destroy the car.
Okay.
Because if you remember before, if they got a flat, you can't move because you're on the you're on the blocks.
Yeah.
So that's something there. Mufflers are making their appearance back for the Clash and for Chicago. I think they're a little bit they're supposed to be a little bit quieter too, which is really weird.
Oh man, the Coliseum's gonna be loud.
live pit stops for all truck and Xfinity now, no matter what, which that was a big thing whenever you looked at, whenever like Xfinity would go to Portland, or when trucks would go to Indianapolis Raceway Park, because they don't go run at Brickyard, they run at IRP. They would have competition stops they would break at the stages and so on for pit changes.
Didn't
And that's
they
all.
do that for road courses too?
Yeah, well, that's what Portland was.
Oh, sorry.
So if they were separate then from the Cup Series, they didn't have a full-time crew, so that they would just do that. Now they're pitting full-time live pit stops, which I think is great, because you got kids coming up in the Truck Series that need to get used to that, and you take that away for 4 races. It's silly.
Yeah.
So
It's just confusing.
yeah, and now it's going to be normal. It kind of. They took 2 gallons out of the Xfinity fuel can, I think, kind of in a response to that. So you figure gas weighs a little bit less than water. So you're thinking it's probably 6 gallons. So you're losing 12 gallons out of or 12 pounds, sorry, out of your fuel can, so that you can have somebody that's not a muscle. You don't have like Jason Kelsey holding the fuel can anymore. You can have, like Jalen Hurts doing it or something like that. Somebody skinnier and smaller. It'll benefit. I think it's going to benefit this whole live pit stops no matter what. Other than that, and they didn't want to hire and pay somebody that's a full-time pit crew.
Yeah.
Because before, what they had with those competition pit stops is the dude that drove the semi with the car in it, he was the gas man. So he drove the truck over, he cooked the food for the team, and then he's the gas man as well. So
Jack of all trades.
yeah. So that's one of the big changes with the mufflers. Then we're going back to stage breaks on road courses. I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
But NASCAR's reasoning is the short races, the sub 2-hour races, are not good for fans. That's what I read in an article, that it's not good for fans, so we're going to go back to doing this.
I don't think NASCAR actually polls their fans.
No, I don't think so too.
Because they say stuff and you're like, what?
I mean, we read an article, or I was reading an article from that Serious Fast Motorsports, and yeah, there's a lot of people showing up to races. I think Watkins Glen sold out. We know Pocono sold out. Pocono was the only one that sold out besides Daytona, the big name races. Pocono was the only one that sold out camping and grandstands. Mm-hmm. I think New Hampshire or Talladega sold out the infield, and that was it. And so, I mean, people are coming back. Is it because of changes like this? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You never know. So they're claiming that for stage breaks. So the stage breaks are back for road courses. So that's going to lengthen them more. I liked the strategy of just not running to the end of stage 1 and stage 2.
Yeah.
That you had to keep going and then pit. I mean, it made it like it was beforehand.
Yeah, and you could have a little bit different strategy by pitting differently than other people.
And that's the only thing I don't like about stage breaks. Now, luckily, they didn't make stage 3 so short that you actually have to pit within a window.
Yeah.
And some people were starting to short pit, like stage 2, so they could come in and so on, especially because these cars have a larger fuel tank, too, the Cup Series cars. Mm-hmm. So you're going to sit there and fill it up, or are you going to short pit? That way, when you come in at the end of stage break, it's a shorter pit stop.
Yeah.
So that's a big change. One of the other big changes is light up boards are now going to be in the pit box. So light up boards is being, if you've ever watched if you guys ever watch soccer or any of those sports, like mostly the European sports, but even if you look in the back of baseball is a bad example because it's more or less green screen. But if you look at the soccer, they have the boards that are LED. Basketball has it on it in the front near where the people sit, the officials sit and everything, where they cycle through. And this will allow them to change their sponsors, squeeze more money out of their sponsors because they'll see them.
Where are they putting that?
They're putting it on the wall. So they used to hang down banners Now they're going to be able to set these boards up so they can rotate them around.
And what happens when somebody crashes into them?
It shouldn't do anything. Just shatter into a million pieces like if you hit something else. So it's just more stuff to clean up. I don't think they're going to hit too much because they're in pit road. They're not going to hit them that hard.
You did see them Larson hit the water barrels, right?
Yeah, but speaking of water barrels, they added more.
Or was that sand? I forget.
That was sand. It was a mix. I think it was sand, but they're the same barrels they use for water too.
Yeah.
They added more protection on the interior wall. I can't remember what race that was. That Blaney hit the inside wall pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They added more protection there. Daytona's gotten rid of the grass on the backfield. It'll be fully gone at the end of this month. It's going to be all concrete so that you don't have another Ryan Priest, Davey Allison.
But do they know for sure they're not going to have another one?
Well, I mean, it reduces it because they're not going to like go down a little bit and jump up and get airborne.
I guess.
I mean, but then again, when you make a car that's a solid underbody, what do you expect? If it's going to get any more air under it, it's going to take off. Which that's another thing, and I've said it last year, is these cars make their downforce on the bottom and not on top, and I that's just mind-boggling to me that you wouldn't think about downforce.
Hopefully it works. Hopefully it doesn't, because I'm just afraid that if it doesn't, they're slamming into concrete while they're rolling.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's like a lot worse than on the grass, because the grass has a little give to it.
Right, but I think that's what caused the issue with Priest is the grass had to give because it was so wet.
No, and then it's just he went from concrete to the grass and
then to concrete again. He hit that where the bus stop is for the road course of Daytona, and that's what kind of got him airborne.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of sad to see the grass get away from everything. I mean,
yeah.
Because I think the front stretch of Daytona is natural grass. I was going to say I think it's artificial now. I can't remember. Then they also had a few. This is where we get into some of the rule changes that Ford, if I remember reading correctly, Ford was upset about. So they are changing stuff for short tracks and road courses. They're going to have the rear diffuser with fewer vertical strakes. So if you look at the back end of the car on the bottom, they have the little shark fins on the reverse upside down shark fins on them. They're going to reduce those. They did that last year a little bit to help the car get loose, be looser, so that it's not. Hopefully, it'll help them out racing and be more competitive.
Hopefully, this car really needs help being competitive.
They're also introducing, to compensate for that reduced downforce, they're also going to be including a taller rear spoiler from 2 to 3 inches in height and the same length across the rear deck. So that's not going to change. Wet weather tires are going to return to all road courses, and most ovals 1 mile in length or shorter, except for the high banked ones like Bristol and Dover.
Yeah, I was going to say that's.
Those are the only ones.
That's not going to work at that Dover anyway, because concrete too.
Right.
That'd be terrible.
That would have been very interesting. The only place that they ran wet weather stuff was they ran it a little bit at the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, which North Wilkesboro got it repaved. So that's going to be interesting to see how that does. I saw Kevin Harvick interview, and he said it was very bumpy, and you could feel the track.
I was glad they brought that back, but that race was horrible.
Well, I think it's going to get better now with the repave. With the repave, it's going to be better because that car's so rigid that the bouncing is horrible on it. So now if you add...
There is no competition.
Yeah. So that'll be there. They also said the only requirement for the cars on ovals for wet weather is going to be a defogger. So they're not going to have the light on it. They're not going to have the rain flaps, like mud flaps. Those are only going to be for road courses. And the wipers. So I guess because they're going so fast and so close to each other, they don't need wipers. I don't know. I think,
don't know,
but that's a requirement.
First car might need it.
Yeah. That they say that's only a requirement. So I bet you they'll still run the wipers though, because it's going to make sense.
Sure.
And it gives you added downforce.
Yeah, I'm sure people are still going to use them.
So they're not mandated on short ovals, is what they're saying. The lights, wiper blades, rear flaps, required at all road courses, but none mandated on short ovals.
I wonder why not the lights, because if it's like raining and it's like foggy and stuff, you can't see very well.
Right, and
You would think that they would want the lights on there.
right. I think they're coming. They're using their history of no rain.
Or I wonder too, because everything's so expensive, they're like, you don't have to have this.
Well, see, they're reducing. That's another thing, and I didn't cover that on here with the new changes. When it gets down to, and I think they're, and I can't remember. They're changing the way that the Xfinity cars have to be, like to bring a backup. They can bring one backup. I think they used to have to bring two backups, or however many. I think it was two backups for a 3-car team, and so on. Now you don't have to bring 3. You can bring 1. So they're going to save money that way, especially on those long trips over to California.
Yeah.
The electric car is going to make its show Sunday. I've talked to people about this, and I think it's going to turn out to be like the Formula One, where they have Formula E and this, or like NASCAR's got the E Series, and that Coca-Cola E Series that runs with iRacing.
I think it's super silly.
I'm curious to see what it looks like. I mean, it's got to weigh a lot more than the other car because of the battery in it.
Yeah. That's my thing. It weighs so much. Like, how's the safety on this thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So going into this weekend, which is the first race weekend, we have 2 things going on, and it's not your conventional, since this is a non-points paying. It's more of a, I don't know what you want to call it, a
exhibition.
Exhibition race, except for the Mexico Series is going to be racing at the Coliseum. Daniel Suarez is going to be running in the Mexico race series. So the lineup for this weekend is Saturday at 4:30. You have the NASCAR Mexico Series qualifying. That'll be on FS1 and MRN. 6 o'clock p.m. And these are Eastern and p.m. 6 p.m. is going to be Cup Series practice on FS1 and MRN. And then 8:30 to 9:15, because most of the NASCAR fans live on the East Coast and they have nothing better to do besides stay up late to watch heat race qualifying. Those are the starts. So this is probably going to go to like 10:30.
Yeah.
That's going to be on FS1 and MRN. So then we move over into Sunday, which will be 4:30 will be the Mexico race, FS1 MRN. Then we move over into the last chance qualifier, which will be 6:30 on Fox and MRN. And then the Clash starts at 8 o'clock. So you can get your NHL All-Star Series in, then watch the NASCAR exhibition race on Fox, and then MRN is going to have the broadcast on that. They made a big stink because NASCAR said they weren't going to open Saturday up to the fans, which you have so much stuff going on Saturday. It's more racing. Why would you not want the money to come in?
I don't know. It's super silly.
So
this at the Coliseum, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think it's the dumbest thing. I know a lot of people like it because it's different, but there's not very much competition. And the first year, I feel like they went out to the streets and just were like, hey, people come in, and they filled the place up to make it look like a lot of people went. And then last year, it was not even halfway full.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see how full it will be.
And grab your popcorn, because Machine Gun Kelly is going to be the entertainment for.
Yeah, and they get the worst entertainment for.
Well, apparently he is bringing in more people. The only thing that I remember with Machine Gun Kelly, because I don't know any of his music, is he did something for WWE a while back, a few years ago. I think it was like the Rumble or WrestleMania. It
makes sense because WWE's like, they're trying to get all in there.
Yeah. So those are the big things happening this weekend. Then we have coming up the duels on the 15th. and then Friday the truck, Saturday Xfinity race, and then Sunday the Daytona 500. But that's going to be the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So we're going to have a break so that we can watch the Kansas City Swifties take on the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl. But that's another topic for another day, because this is a racing podcast. We won't go too far onto that.
No, we won't.
And
I'll keep my mouth shut.
One of the big changes before we get into the expectations for the 2024 season and predictions, big things happened this past weekend. One big thing happened today as well that you don't really know about, but you don't really care about this too much. So the big thing that happened was Formula One came to Andretti Motorsport and Cadillac and said, we're going to reject your bids for the 2025 and then 2026 to come in as a new team. And I mean, that's frustrated a lot of people. Like Mario Andretti was upset, and just their reasoning on why they said it. They said that Andretti Motorsports and the name Andretti is not going to, and Cadillac, mind you, too, because we were just talking about they have a very big racing pedigree in, sports car racing.
Yeah.
That they're not going to bring enough value to the Formula One brand. That Formula One brand's actually going to bring them more awareness.
Which is just total insanity.
It's stupid because
Poppycock.
The Andretti name. I mean, what do you think of Mario Andretti? I don't think a lot of people know, but he did race Formula One. He won quite a few Brickyards. He's the only person I know of that has won a Brickyard or Indianapolis 500. Sorry. And the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
And Andretti Motorsports has won numerous races in IndyCar. They've won a World Rally Car Championship. They've won. I mean, they have. And then you look at Cadillac. We were talking about it. Cadillac in the sport car racing, but Cadillac's part of GM. GM. I saw a statistic that said they have the 17% of the world market. They have the most world out of any of the other car manufacturers of the world market. Now, granted, GM's encompassing everything, but still, Cadillac, you think General Motors, that's going to bring value to Formula One. But I as much as they want to come into the United States, I don't think they do. And they think that we're too redneck as a country, and
as a racing, our fan base and all that.
Yeah, even though there's not a lot of people, other people watch the sports car or they watch Formula One. Mm-hmm. And then the other big news that happened today, as we're recording this, is starting in 2025, so next year, Lewis Hamilton's leaving Mercedes. He's been with Mercedes for 10 years, I think they said.
He's leaving?
He's leaving Mercedes to go to Ferrari. He's won, I don't know how many championships with Mercedes. Somebody made an analogy that it was like Dale Jr. going to Hendrick, but I don't like that analogy because
no, I don't like that analogy
Hendrick
either.
Hendrick didn't do anything for Junior.
No,
Junior did more for Hendrick.
Chase Elliott's getting the Junior treatment.
Yeah, which a lot of people think that he's going to do a lot better now, as long as he doesn't go out and break his leg whenever they're in California.
Probably.
But
it's still the same treatment because they keep him around because they're the most popular driver.
Yeah, the Elliott name.
And they just give them just what they need and the rest of everything else. I
think Junior should have gone to Gibbs, and he would have probably had 4 or 5 championships.
I don't know if he would have 4 or 5 championships. He's a good race car driver, but he definitely would have done better.
But the equipment wasn't there.
No, I know it wasn't.
Because he was always racing. They're going to give Jimmy... Look at what they did this year, or the past years. They gave Larson the equipment. Then they switched and gave... And then they take let's leap back. Mm-hmm. So I think the same thing happened with Dale Jr. Whereas if he goes to Gibbs at that time, who's he going to compete with?
Oh, yeah, no.
Kyle Busch.
Right.
Kyle Busch just switched over from Hendrick over to... I think a year or two before Junior moved.
I think it would be a bigger probability he would have had a championship with Gibbs. Yes, I don't know if he would have multiple.
Because who else is going to fight? Tony Stewart, Kenseth, and Kyle Busch and Denny. That's the only thing is who would he have taken? That's the question. Would they have kicked Kenseth out?
Oh.
So, and didn't Edwards run for it? Or no, he was just Roush.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so what are your expectations for 2024? Or do you have any expectations?
Do I have any expectations?
We're not doing dirt anymore. Dirt's gone.
I mean, that's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, we
It
did
wore
it.
its welcome out.
Yeah, I think so. I think if they could actually go to a dirt track, not
people
put
wanted them to
dirt
go to-
on a track.
I'd be interested to see him at Eldora, but that's the same reason with the Clash. People wanted the Cup Series cars to run at Bowman Gray. I get you want to go out to the West Coast to try to grab more people. I don't think there's a lot of more local tracks they could have supported that have already built for racing than going to the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, and spending all that money to redo it every single year.
Yeah, that is a ton of money.
At least with Bristol, they saved the dirt.
Yeah, but they had to put dirt down anyway because they run the dirt races there. So it was almost a no harm no foul.
Yeah.
They're moving. The Easter race is not going to be at Bristol this year. I can't remember where it is. I think it's a road course.
I don't know. I'm just really hoping that some of these changes actually make the cars more competitive because some of these races were so bad last year.
Yeah, it was
So
kind of
bad.
boring to see somebody like William Byron, or even we like Truex, to see Truex go get
William
out
Byron and Larson just like
to run away with it.
run away with it because there was a couple races, if you were in the top 3, only those cars had a chance of winning the race.
Right.
Nobody else did. It was terrible.
So
I kind of really hope too in the Clash too more people get more aggressive like they did last year to make it more interesting because
Right.
the first
Well,
year was really boring.
I think
It
it
was a
was
little
bad.
bit more interesting last year, but it's so small.
Well, I think the problem with the first year is the first year for a new car, and it was the first year for this track. So
Yeah.
people were gonna.
It was way different than any other
tiptoe
track.
around. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's flat and it's tiny.
Yeah, but I want to see a lot more people bump into each other and spin out.
So what do you have in prediction wise for this year?
I have no predictions.
So I think we're gonna have. I think Corey LaJoie is gonna stay and get a top 5 this year, and contend for winning a race.
Yeah, and it's going to be Atlanta.
I think Shane Van Gisbergen is going to win the Xfinity race. He's just going to go out and he's going to run away with it. But I also think that I think Allmendinger and him in an Xfinity car, because that's Allmendinger's bread and butter.
Yeah.
I think they're going to give everybody a run for their money when it comes to road races.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with some people saying that Ty Gibbs wins his first race this year. I think he's been quiet and he's been consistently top 10s.
Yeah.
So he could move up there and take a race.
He could. I kind of hope he doesn't, though, because it gives him way too much of it gives him a bigger ego than he already has.
Right.
And he has a very big one.
I see Colleague going for a championship in Cup Series a little bit more now. And not just Ross. I think Suarez, even though I'm not a big fan of Suarez, I think he'll go up there. I don't think they make the championship four, neither one
I
of
think
them.
Suarez needs to just be a little bit smarter and not be so emotional because he's crashed himself out in some races.
Yeah. I think Bubba's going to probably win more. But and what I would like to see is I would like to see the 19 team get their head out of their butts and actually finish off the season. And maybe, hopefully his crew chief actually learned how to call a race better and they're not bickering like two old ladies.
Yeah.
I'd-
Pretty bad.
I think Denny might win the Daytona 500 again. I don't think we're gonna. This is one of the things they did on Race Hub, is they said, we're gonna have another first time winner, because the past 3 winners have been first time, because you had Cindric won it, then McDowell won it, and then Stenhouse won it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're kind of done that streak. It's probably going to be somebody who's won it before.
yeah, or yeah,
It can still be a first timer.
yeah. There are a lot. I can't remember how many they said were in there that are actually won this race before. I mean, you got those 3 guys. Denny's won it.
How many times has Denny won it?
3 or 4, I think. But I think he's just there at the right time. I mean, because Truex was up there running well,
I mean,
too.
the last one that he won, he was there at the right time.
Right.
And he shouldn't have won it.
So
Blaney should have won that.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think you're going to see somebody get punted out of the way at a lot of these tracks at the end.
Oh, if Denny's in second.
Yeah, if Denny's in second, he's going to punt somebody to get that win.
Most definitely.
I mean, look at him.
And if Austin Dillon's up there, he definitely is, because that's the only way Austin Dillon can win a race.
Right. See, I don't think he's won. He hasn't won a 500, because we're talking. He's won at Daytona. He won, and then he won at, was it Atlanta Talladega's where he punted Corey LaJoie out of the way to win.
I don't know. He's done it like every time, and then I think he won one in a rain delay.
Yeah, he won a rain short.
But that's really the only way he knows how to win, is punt somebody out of the way.
Yeah, and RC doesn't seem to care about it. I mean, if it were me, you brought in a guy who can win races and has a history of it, a pedigree.
I mean, he had Dale Sr., and Dale Sr. was good at that too.
Yeah, but Dale Sr. actually had the respect of the...
and he could drive a car.
He could drive the car, but he also had the respect of the garage.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon, I mean, I don't think he has the respect of the garage.
No.
I think everybody sees him as a little punk. Kind of like Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see Ryan Truex win another race.
He's gonna win another race.
I think Truex wins at least 3. I think Larson's gonna win 4. I think Elliott will break his winless streak and win this year. I don't know where, but I think he'll break
win a
it.
road course.
Yeah, it'll probably be a road course, because he's got to keep that road course king going on.
Not that he has to keep it going on.
He'll probably win Watkins Glen. I bet you he'll win Watkins Glen. I bet Reddick will win Circuit of the Americas. I was going to say Truex will win Sonoma, but I don't know, because Sonoma just got a repave this year, and they've been doing that over the wintertime. So that's going to be interesting to see how that course runs. I'm happy to see the Brickyard come back.
Yeah,
they're not running the Indy road course anymore, which was the dumbest thing in my opinion.
Yeah,
you have so much racing history in that oval.
Yeah,
and then you're going to run the road course.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We have a lot more to go through going forward. So, yeah, we'll catch you guys next week after the race with our opinions and how everything's going. Then we'll probably take a little break just because of the fact that we don't have any racing going on the 11th. And then we'll pick it up. We have the duel. We have a lot of action pack going on that next week and then weekend because of the duels, and then we bump into finally getting some racing with trucks and Xfinity, and then the Cup Series. Actually, some real racing that's going to mean something. Because as of right now, the Clash doesn't mean anything. What is it, bragging rights?
I don't even think it's bragging rights, because the track is kind of ridiculous. If it was a hard track, or I don't know.
But how much money do you think they're winning from this Clash? That's the only reason they're racing and doing this, is to get the bonus, kind of like the $1 million purse that comes out of running the.
But also, I think it just is like another get their racing wheels under them before the Daytona 500.
Right. So that's the recap on the NASCAR, and the last 2 things that we'll leave you guys on, and you can sink your teeth in and chew, is SRX isn't going to be back this year. Some people say it's they can't get anybody TV deals and all that with sponsorships. I think it's because Paul Tracy wrecked cars out too much, and also Tony Stewart ran Ray Evernham out of it, and then with Ray Evernham, he purchased the IROC name.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if IROC comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll,
It's kind of a shame because the XRX was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was neat. Except for when Paul Tracy decided to wreck everybody.
Yeah.
They should have kicked him out a long time ago, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely.
So, anyway, yeah, that's it on that. So thank you guys for listening. Please like, follow, and share, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.